Hello everyone, welcome back to the new video session. So today on this video session we'll understand one of the important topic, that is capital structure. So under this topics I am going to deal a meaning and examples regarding how the funds are raised through the equity and the debts, and also we are going to learn about the factors affecting to the capital structure. So the capital structure, one of the important decisions under the financial management, relates to the financing patterns or the proportion of the use of the different sources in raising the funds. So basically it will deals with the how to raise the funds, how much the proportion of the funds has to be raised in the different sources of the finance. So here we are going to learn about the meaning, that is capital structures refers to the mix between the owners and the borrowed fund. So let us understand the owners funds. That owners funds consist of the equity share capital, preference share capital, and reserves or surpluses. So even you can call the retained earning is also the owners fund. So let us understand the borrowed funds. So if you taken the money from any loans, debentures, public deposits, etc., and they may be borrowed from the banks, other financial institutions, ben- debenture holders, and public. So these all call it as a borrowed funds. Suppose if you raise the funds for your business operations through these kinds of the institutions or any debenture holders or public, so that will be comes under the borrowed fund. So let us understand the general topic, that it can be calculated as a debt equity ratio, because the capital structure is mixed up with the owners fund and borrowed fund, so it will be called it as a debt and equity ratio, whereas it can be calculated by the formula that debt divided by equity, or the debts divided by debt plus equity. The proportion of debt in the overall capital is called as a financial leverage. One small example, that is company X Limited, where the total funds used by this company is 30 lakh. So the interest rate is 10%, tax rate is 30%, EBIT, earning before the interest and tax, is 4 lakh, where the situation 1, that is debts, there is no debts in the situation 1. In situation 2, debts is 10 lakh and remaining amount to be raised through the equity. In situation 3, the debts is 20 lakh and remaining amount to be raised through the equity. So let us understand the EBIT and EPS analysis, that situation 1 and situation 2, situation 3. So here the EBIT, that 4 lakh in all the situation, the interest. So interest here, there is no debt, so there is no interest on the situation 1. And next comes 4 lakh, that situation 2, 4 lakh EBIT, the interest, because here 10 lakh amount to be raised from the debts, in the sense 10 lakh into 10 divided by 100, 1 lakh is the interest. Situation 3, there is 20 lakh of the debts are to be raised. So 20 lakh into 10 divided by 100, that is 2 lakh, where the interest is there on the situation 3. Next comes, that is a EBT, that is earning before the tax. So here you can analyze that 4 lakh minus 0, that is 4 lakh. More 4 lakh minus 1 lakh, that is 3 lakh. And 4 lakh minus 2 lakh, that is 2 lakh. So next comes, that is tax. So we have come to know that earning before the tax. So let us understand earning, that we have to pay the tax, later we will get the earning after the tax. So earning before the tax, so that 4 lakh, 3 lakh, 2 lakh. Next comes how much we have to pay the tax. So in here we have understood, no, this is 30%, that we have to calculate here, that 4 lakh into 30 divided by 100, how much we will get? 1,20,000. Similarly 3 lakh into 30 divided by 100, 90,000. Similarly, 2 lakh into 30 divided by 100, how much? 60,000. So this much amount, that tax we have to pay, the government, the business has to pay this much. So next comes that earning after the tax. So we have to calculate that earning, in the sense we have to remove the tax in that. So 4 lakh minus how much? 1 lakh 20,000, the tax, how much we will get? 2 lakh 80,000. Next comes 3 lakh minus 90,000, how much? 2 lakh 10,000. Next 2 lakh minus 60,000, how much? 1 lakh 40,000, the earnings after deducting the tax. So next comes number of the shares of rupees 10. So here we have to calculate how much we will earn on the, means how much we will get a number of the shares from the earnings. So here we are going to learn about the 30,000 divided by 10. Why this is not 30,000? 30 lakhs divided by 10. Why this is 30 lakh? Because in situation 1 there is no debts. Only the amount has been raised through the equity. So 30 lakh divided by 10, that is 3 lakh. The number of shares you can raise. In situation 2 where the 20,000 is a 20 lakh. 20 lakh is the amount raised from the equity where debt is 10 lakh. So 20 lakh divided by 10, that is 2 lakh shares. Where in situation 3, 20 lakh of debts has been raised and remaining out of 30, that is 10 lakh has been raised from the equity. So 10 lakh divided by 10, how much? 1 lakh. So number of the shares in situation 1, 3 lakh, situation 2, 2 lakh, situation 3, 1 lakh. So let us understand the EPS, that is earning per share. So here we have to calculate the EPS by EAT, earning after the tax divided by number of the shares. How much that earning after the tax? That is 2 lakh 80,000. You can observe here 2 lakh 80,000 divided by this 3 lakh. This 3 lakh. So how much? That is 0.93. Next comes, that is in situation 2, that is 2 lakh 10,000, that EAT 2 lakh 10,000 divided by how much? That 2 lakh. So how much we will get? 1.05. In situation 3, that is 1 lakh 40,000 divided by 1 lakh. How much? 1.40. Therefore, the company earns rupees 0.93 per shares if it is unlevered, because we have understood, suppose the portion of debt is there in the capital, that is called as a financial lever, but here there is no debts has been raised, so for that reason it is called it as a unlevered. So with a debt of rupees 10 lakh, its EPS is rupees 1.505. So with a still higher the debt of rupees 20 lakh, its EPS rises to rupees 1.40. So now we'll understand why it is EPS is raising with the higher debts. So it is because the cost of debt is lower than the return that company is earned on the funds employed. So the company is earning the return on investment. So next part, that is return on investment. So here you can calculate the return on investment by EBIT, that is earning before interest and tax, divided by total investment into 100. So EBIT of every situation, that is 4 lakh divided by 30 lakh into 100. How much? 13.33 percentage of return on investment will be earned by the company. So this completes an example. We'll understand the factors affecting to the choice of the capital structure. The first point, that is cash flow position. The size of the project, cash flow must be considered before borrowing. So cash flow must not only cover the fixed cash payments obligation, but there must be a sufficient buffers also. So here cash flow position, that whether the project will be having a more cash flow, that is cash inflow, not cash outflow. Suppose the cash inflow is more, so that we can select. So suppose the cash inflows is very low, that we can reject. So EPS, that earning price per share, earning per share. So suppose it is more, so that we can select with the where the minimum, so that we can reject. So in that manner we have to consider. Next comes, that is second one, that is interest coverage ratio. The interest coverage ratio refers to the number of times earning before the interest and tax of the company covers the interest obligation. So this may be calculated as follows, that is interest coverage ratio equal to EBIT divided by interest. The higher the ratio, lower shall be the risk of the company. So failing to meet its interest payment obligation. Suppose this ratio is higher, it is benefit for the organization to meet the interest payment obligations. Suppose this ratio is very low, so better the company can reject the project. Next comes that is debt service coverage ratio. So debt service coverage ratio takes care of the deficiencies referred to the interest coverage ratio. So here it is a sub unit of the interest coverage ratio. So the cash profit generated by the operations are compared with the total cash requirements for the service of the debts and the preference share capital. So it is totally help to generate, I mean profit, cash profit generated by the operations. So it will tell you how to raise the funds and also how to operate a business. So it will be calculated by the profit after the tax plus depreciation plus interest plus non-cash expenses divided by preference dividend plus interest plus repayment obligation. So therefore the higher service coverage ratio indicates a better ability to meet the cash commitment, and consequently the company's potential to increase the debts components in its capital structure. Next one, that is return on investment. So as already we have understood this one, if the return on investment of the company is higher, it can be choose to use a trading on equity to increase its EPS. So therefore its ability to use the debts is greater. Suppose the return on investment by comparing one project to the another project, so later suppose the return on investment is more, so that project has to be selected rather than the less return on investment project. Next one, cost of debts. A firm's ability to borrow at the lower rate increase its capacity to employ the higher debts. So therefore the more debts can be used if the debts can be raised at the lower rate. So you can understand this one easily. Suppose the interest rate on the debts is low, so it's better to raise a more debts. Suppose the interest on loans and debts is more, so better we can raise the funds through the equity rather than the debts. Next comes, that is tax rate. Since the interest is a deductible expenses, cost of debt is affected by the tax rate. So the tax rate, that interest is a deductible expenses. Similarly, cost of debt is totally affected by the tax rates. So the firms in our examples are borrowing at 10% since the tax rate is a 30%. So here after the tax cost of debt is only 7%, that is 10% of 30 deducted in the 10, so that is 7% is a exact cost of the debts. The higher the tax rate, thus the makes the debts relatively cheaper and increases the its attractive vice versa on the equity. So next one, cost of equity. stock owners expect a rate of returns from the equity which is compensated with the risk they are assuming. So basically, when a company increase the debts, the financial risk faced by the equity shareholders increases. Consequently, their desire to rate the returns may increase. So cost of equity, suppose the if you are ready to raise the funds through the debts, so they will be having all the rights to ask. Suppose if you are raising the funds through the debts, in the sense you have to pay the principal amount at the end on the particular day or time. So they will be means they will be ask you the questions why you are raising the debts instead of the equity. So in that manner you have to give the reasonable answer, because the return whatever you will get from that invested money, so that will be goes up to the particular bank and financial institution, not to the equity shareholders. So the cost of equity also matters while raising the funds. One that is flotation cost. So flotation cost means the cost incurred while raising a funds through the equity. So the process of raising the resources also includes some cost. So public issue of shares and debentures require a considerable expenditure. So the conclusion for the this one, where the getting a loan from the financial institutions may not cost more, but compare with the equity. So while raising the funds through the equity will cost more, because you have to register your company under the SEBI. So you have to follow the rules and regulations of SEBI. So definitely it will cost more rather than the debts. Risk consideration. So financial risk refers to the positions when a company is unable to meet its fixed financial charges, namely interest payments, preference dividends, and repayment obligations. Apart from the financial risk, every business has some operation risk, that is also called it as a business risk. So business risk depends upon the fixed operating cost. Higher fixed operating cost results in the higher business risk and vice versa. So not only the financial risk, even though the other risk, that is business risk. So the company has to face both the risk. So the financial risk will be called when the company is not ready to pay the or not ready to meet the expenditures related to that interest payments, preference dividends, or repayment obligation. And also it has to bear some fixed charges, so that rent, insurance, so those also comes under as a business risk. So where it has to bear the some business risk also to operate the business. Suppose the risk is more, it's better to take a money from the equity rather than the debts. Next one, that is flexibility. If the firm uses its debts potential to the full, it loses the flexibility to issue a further debts. To maintain a flexibility, it must maintain a some borrowing power to take care of the unforeseen circumstances. So flexibility like freely taking a decisions. Suppose the company is raising a more debts, similarly it will increase add up to the cost. So it will make a business to not to spend a much money. So it has to keep in the mind we have to pay the money with the principal and the interest to the particular bank or financial institutions where we have taken the loan. So for that reason, you should not raise a more debts. It will make you too inflexible in business decisions. Next comes that is controls. So debts normally does not cause a dilution of control. A public issue of equity may reduce the management's holdings in the company and make it a vulnerable to the takeovers. So here you can understand that control in the sense controlling power of the business. So suppose if you are raising the funds through the equity, so definitely you have to lose your control over the management, because the company is running the money from the that equity shareholders. So they will be having all the rights to ask you the questions regarding that. So it's better you can raise the funds through the debts where there is no dilution of the control over the business. Next comes that is regulation regulatory framework. So every company operates within a regulatory framework provided by the law. That is, public issue of the shares and debentures have to be made up under a SEBI guidelines. So here regulatory framework in the sense some rules and regulations you have to follow. Suppose if you are raising the funds through the SEBI means equity, so you have to register under the SEBI. So to channelize or exchanging the shares from one person to the another person or from one company to the another company. So this much of flexibility you have to provide, so you have to go with the some rules and regulations to follow the SEBI's guidelines. So raising the funds from the banks and other financial institutions requires the fulfillment of the other norms. So if you compare with debts, raising the loans from the bank, so that is very easy rather than the SEBI's guidelines. Next one, stock markets reaction or condition, that if the stock markets are bullish, every shares are more easy, means every shares are movable easily and sold even at the higher prices. So use of the equity is often preferred by the companies in such a situation. So however, during a bearish phase, so the company may find a raising of equity capital more difficult and it may opt for the debts. So you can understand here two markets will be available in the stock market, that is bullish market, bearish market. So bullish market is very important where the market is totally high, so that time you can sold the product at the high cost. And when it is bearish, when the market is going down, so that time it is very difficult for the sellers, not for the buyers. So once a company wants to raise the funds through the equity, when it is a bearish market, nobody will purchase because the cost will be, means the cost will be very low. Next one, capital structure of the other companies. So the useful guidelines in the capital structure planning is a debt equity ratio of the company, then other company in the same industry. So there are the usually some industry norms which may help. Core, however, must be taken that the company does not follow the industry norms blindly. So here every time the capital structure of the other company is also affecting for your company, because if they are succeeding in their market, you have to analyze and take over the some decisions and guidelines from the other companies. So that is also sometime affect for the capital structure of the your own company. So among these all points, you can list out any 10 points for the practical oriented question. So here you need not to go with the explanation. Only for your understanding you have to read this explanation. So only you have to list out any 10 among 14 factors affecting to the choice of the capital structure. If you have any doubts related to this, you can reach me. Thank you.